scenic road from Islamabad to Murree is famous for its breathtaking mountain views and pine forests, but locals know it by another name: the road where people vanish without a trace. For decades, travelers have disappeared along this winding mountain highway, leaving behind only their abandoned vehicles and a mystery that has never been solved. It started in the winter of 1988, when a family of 4 was driving to Murree for a holiday. Their car was found parked near Jika Gali, engine still running, doors wide open. The father's wallet lay on the dashboard, the mother's purse sat untouched on the passenger seat, and the children's toys were scattered in the back. But the family had simply vanished. No footprints in the snow, no signs of struggle, nothing to indicate where they had gone or what had happened. Police searched the surrounding forests for weeks. Rescue teams combed through ravines and valleys. Locals joined the search, but not a single trace of the family was ever found. It was as if they had stepped out of the car and ceased to exist. But this was only the beginning. Over the next 3 decades, at least 17 more disappearances occurred along the same stretch of road. Each case followed a disturbing pattern: vehicles found abandoned, belongings left behind, and people gone without explanation. Some cars were found with meals half-eaten, cigarettes still burning in ashtrays, and radios playing. It was as if the occupants had been plucked away mid-action. The most chilling case occurred in 2003, when a young couple on their honeymoon disappeared near the same location. Their car was found the next morning with the headlights still on, draining the battery. Inside, investigators discovered something that made their blood run cold. The bride's makeup was smeared, as if she'd been crying or screaming. Deep scratch marks covered the inside of the passenger door, fingernails broken and bloody, as if she desperately tried to claw her way out. But the doors had been found wide open. What had she been trying to escape from? Local residents refuse to drive that section of road after dark. They speak in whispers about strange lights that appear in the forest, moving between the trees with no apparent source. Others report hearing voices calling their names from the darkness, luring them to stop their vehicles. Some claim to see figures standing on the roadside, thumbs out as if hitchhiking, but when drivers slow down, the figures vanish. One survivor's account has haunted investigators for years. In 2010, a truck driver reported stopping to help what appeared to be a woman in distress standing by the roadside. As his headlights illuminated her, he realized something was terribly wrong. Her feet weren't touching the ground. She was floating inches above the pavement. When she turned to face him, he saw that her eyes were completely black and her mouth was twisted in an impossible smile. He fled in terror and later suffered a complete mental breakdown, spending months in psychiatric care. Theories range from serial killers to human trafficking rings, but none explain the complete absence of bodies or evidence. Some believe the area is cursed, that ancient spirits guard the mountain passes and claim travelers as tribute. Others point to the fact that during the colonial era, the British used these hills as burial grounds for plague victims, and perhaps something awakened from that mass grave. The most disturbing theory comes from local tribal elders who speak of the forest people, supernatural entities that have lived in these mountains since before human memory. According to legend, they appear as ordinary travelers in distress, luring good Samaritans to stop. Once someone exits their vehicle to help, they're taken to a dimension that exists alongside our own, trapped forever between worlds. Pakistani authorities have investigated each disappearance thoroughly, but forensic evidence is virtually non-existent. No bodies have ever been recovered, no suspects have been identified. The 17 missing persons remain officially listed as disappeared under unknown circumstances. Families still hold vigil, hoping for answers that will likely never come. And the mountain road continues to claim victims, adding new names to a list of the vanished that grows longer with each passing year.
On a humid Karachi night in 2001, multiple drivers on Karsaz Road reported seeing the same terrifying apparition. A woman in a blood-stained white bridal dress standing in the middle of the busy highway, her arms outstretched as if trying to stop traffic. When vehicles approached, she would vanish, only to reappear further down the road. This wasn't just urban legend. This was witnessed by dozens of people on the same night, including police officers, resulting in several accidents as drivers swerved to avoid the phantom bride. But the story of the Karsaz bride began long before that night, rooted in a tragedy that occurred in the late 1970s. A young woman named Nadia was traveling to her wedding reception with her new husband when their car was struck by a speeding vehicle near the Karsaz flyover. The groom survived with minor injuries, but Nadia, still in her bridal dress, died instantly. Her body was thrown from the vehicle, landing on the road where she bled to death before ambulances could arrive. The wedding turned into a funeral. Nadia was buried in her wedding dress, as is sometimes done in Muslim tradition when a bride dies on her wedding day. Her family was devastated, and her young husband never remarried, spending the rest of his life visiting her grave every day until his own death decades later. Shortly after Nadia's death, strange reports began emerging from Karsaz Road. Drivers claimed to see a woman in white standing by the roadside late at night. Some said she would step into traffic, causing them to swerve. Others reported seeing her sitting in their back seat when they checked their rearview mirror, only to find the seat empty when they turned around. The sightings intensified in 2001 when construction began on expanding the flyover. Workers reported seeing a woman in white walking through the construction site at night, leaving no footprints in the dust. Some claimed she would appear in their equipment, sitting in excavator cabs or standing on unfinished sections of the bridge, always in the same blood-stained bridal dress. One construction worker described an encounter that led to his resignation. He was working the night shift when he saw a woman stumbling along the road, looking injured and disoriented. He approached to help, and she looked up at him. Her face was badly injured, as if from a vehicle impact, and blood poured from her mouth. When he reached out, his hand passed through her body like smoke. She smiled at him, a sad, knowing smile, and then vanished. He quit the next day and never returned. The most documented incident occurred when multiple motorists reported the bribe causing a massive traffic jam on Karsaz Road. Dozens of drivers called police, all describing the same woman in the same dress standing in the middle of the highway. When police arrived, they found nothing, but the traffic cameras had captured something chilling. The footage showed what appeared to be a translucent figure moving through traffic, causing cars to swerve before the image flickered and disappeared. Some witnesses claim she's not malevolent but desperate, trying to stop people from suffering the same fate she did. Others believe she's trapped in an endless loop, reliving her death night after night. One thing for certain, the Karsaz bride has become part of Karachi's folklore, a ghost story that refuses to remain merely legend because too many people have seen her with their own eyes.
In 1930s Delhi, a 4-year-old girl named Shanti Devi began telling her parents something impossible. She insisted she wasn't really their daughter. Her real name was Lugdi Devi. She was married to a man named Kedarnath, and she had died during childbirth in a town called Mathura, over 100 kilometers away. Her parents dismissed this as childish imagination until Shanti began providing specific details no 4-year-old should know. She described her previous home with precise accuracy: the color of the walls, the number of rooms, the location of hidden money. She spoke in the dialect of Mathura, which she'd never been exposed to. Most disturbing of all, she spoke about the intense pain of dying during childbirth, describing medical procedures and her final moments with a clarity that terrified her parents. As Shanti grew older, her memories became more detailed and insistent. She begged her parents to take her to Mathura to find her real family. She provided the name of her supposed husband, described her son who had been born just before she died, and even gave the address of the house where she claimed to have lived. Eventually, Shanti's parents decided to investigate. They discreetly sent a letter to the address Shanti had provided, asking if a woman named Lugdi Devi had lived there. The response they received sent shockwaves through the family. Yes, a woman by that name had lived at that address. Yes, she had been married to a man named Kedarnath, and yes, she had died during childbirth approximately 4 years before Shanti was born. Word of this incredible case reached Mahatma Gandhi, who personally commissioned a committee to investigate. 15 people, including professors, politicians, and journalists, accompanied Shanti on a trip to Mathura when she was 9 years old. What happened next was documented in official reports and witnessed by dozens of people. When the train arrived in Mathura, Shanti immediately pointed out landmarks and changes to the city, commenting on new buildings and noting what used to be in their place. She navigated the streets without guidance, leading the group directly to the house where Lugdi had lived. When Kedarnath appeared, Shanti burst into tears and embraced him, calling him by a pet name that only his deceased wife had used. She then identified her son from her previous life, now a young boy, calling him by name and recounting memories of his birth. Inside the house, Shanti pointed to a loose floorboard where Lugdi had hidden jewelry and money. When the board was lifted, the items were exactly where she said they would be, items that had been hidden since before Shanti was born. She described renovations to rooms, the location of a well that had been filled in, and personal details about Lugdi's life that only family members could confirm. The investigating committee's official report concluded that Shanti Devi's case was genuine and unexplainable through normal means. She had provided over 100 specific details about Lugdi Devi's life, nearly all of which were verified as accurate. She knew things about Lugdi's marriage, her death, and her family that no child could have learned through normal channels. But the case took a darker turn as Shanti aged. She became deeply depressed, mourning the life she had lost and the child she'd been forced to leave behind. She never married, despite her parents' wishes, insisting she was already married to Kedarnath in her soul. She spoke constantly of the pain of being trapped in the wrong body, of watching her son grow up without recognizing her as his mother. Scientists, skeptics, and believers have studied Shanti's case for decades. It remains one of the most well-documented cases of claimed reincarnation in history, witnessed by credible observers and backed by official documentation. Whether it proves reincarnation is real or represents some unknown psychological phenomenon, the case of Shanti Devi continues to challenge our understanding of consciousness, memory, and the nature of human existence itself.
If these stories sent chills down your spine, don't vanish into the darkness without hitting that like button. Share your scariest experience in the comments below, because your story might be featured next. And remember, the scariest thing is missing out. So subscribe now, before the next nightmare finds you.